Lately, I've been talking about our two biggest metrics that are native to YouTube: average view duration and click-through rate. Click-through rate being important because it shows your ability to entice your audience to actually watch and care about what you're posting. Average view duration is really important because it suggests that your video is compelling and interesting enough to be watched all the way through. There's another important factor that determines high viewership, but it doesn't have a metric associated with it, so it's a bit harder to talk about. Let's dive into that today. Today, let's talk about overall audience interest and choosing topics that are popular but don't sacrifice the spirit of your channel. If you're hearing audience interest, you might think, well, isn't that what CTR is? Isn't CTR gauging how interested my audience is in clicking on my video? And yeah, it sort of is. CTR is often a function of communicating your value proposition in a clear, interesting way. But because of the way the recommendation algorithm works, we're sort of presupposing that the audience is already interested in the kind of topics we're talking about. CTR isn't a measure of interest, it's our ability to meet that interest. When we say audience interest in a topic, we're talking about the entire audience that could theoretically be enticed to watch the video. Also, this has a lot more to do with topic than format. Format is ideally something that's relatively unique to you, and it's something that your audience comes back for regardless of the topic. A strong format over time will build a core audience, which is amazing, but topics with high interest can expand your reach out to new audience members more effectively. We'll get into how those ideas interact in just a little bit, but let's start simple and get more complicated. When we talk about audience interest, it exists at broadly two levels. There's the macro interest and the micro interest. When we're talking about the macro level, we're basically asking across the entirety of YouTube, how interested are people in this topic? This is generally something that's not hard to approximate with numbers. Let's have a quick example. Let's say I run a gaming channel and I have two ideas for topics. One is indie game turned mega success Minecraft, and the other is one of my personal favorite games, Phantom Dust. You have probably not heard of Phantom Dust, and if you have heard of Phantom Dust, I'm a big fan, Austin Walker, and it's very nice to meet you. Either way, it's not tremendously hard to guess which of those has more interest around it. Regardless of my skill, regardless of how cool my thumbnails might be, regardless of how big my core audience is, I cannot make Phantom Dust a more popular topic than Minecraft. That is a functional mathematical reality. Okay, so some topics are more popular than others. Big whoop. Does that mean we should only ever chase trends? Should we consign ourselves to a world where we only care about the video equivalent of the top 40s and screw everything else? Is Phantom Dust forever relegated to obscurity? Okay, on the Phantom Dust front, yes, that game is always going to be obscure. But that doesn't mean we should necessarily just go for what's always the most popular thing in the moment. So rather than looking at a wide macro level, let's zoom in on your audience and their interests. As you grow your channel, you're going to develop a core audience with its own interests that differ from the wider macro scale. In this way, you can cultivate interests. So yes, Phantom Dust might be more obscure than Minecraft, but if I have built my channel around looking at underappreciated, underexplored games, then my audience is probably going to be more interested in that than they would be in Minecraft. And my core audience's loyalty and day one support are going to be much more important to the success of my video than what the world at large cares about. As we mentioned before, a really strong format can keep your audience tied together even if they don't care about the topic at all, but a strong topic that your audience does care about can only be a boon. Okay, so that all explains why topic is important. On a macro level, a more popular topic makes it more likely for more people to enjoy your video. On a micro level, understanding your audience and giving them topics they enjoy even beyond the format makes it that much more likely that they're going to click on your video, which makes your day one performance great, which makes the rest of your video's performance great. So even if you like Matt, and even if you like me, and you like what we're doing here, you have topic preferences, even within the wider scheme of how to do YouTube. I'm willing to bet that if we did a video comparing good types of cameras and lights, it would not do as well, because that's not the interest of our audience. So how do we go about choosing a popular topic? If your channel's established at all, you should have some idea about what your channel is about, so you should have a few ideas written down somewhere anyway. Fortunately, there are a couple of tools at our disposal. If you're looking at covering one thing versus another thing in roughly the same style and you're just not sure which is the more popular, the quickest and dirtiest thing you can do is go to Google Trends. You can compare the YouTube search volume of two different things to see which one gets searched more, which is a good approximation of which one's more popular. Using Google Trends, you can get just a raw output of how many times one thing is searched versus how many times another thing is searched. If we have something that's really obviously popular and something that's really obviously not popular, you don't need to do this, but a lot of times it's going to be closer than that. It can also tell you if a topic is rising or falling. So if you see something that's super popular and it's been slowly dipping over time, maybe you don't want to get in on that action right now. You'd be facing a lot of competition from already entrenched people, and also you'd be fighting over less and less and less over time. So that's a good place to start, and that will give you a quick and dirty approximation about which of two things is the more popular. This is really helpful as a quick comparison between like IPs or something. So if I'm doing the history of Marvel versus the history of DC, and I'm not sure which is more popular, you can go ahead and search real quick and get an answer. And by the same token, if I want to talk about Fortnite, but I'm not sure if Fortnite is still on top, I can see if it's been declining over time. Side note, I think it was declining over time, and now Epic Games is in its lawsuit with Apple, and I think the search volume has gone up pretty considerably because of that, but that's neither here nor there. That can give us pretty wide topics at a pretty wide macro level, something like basketball versus baseball. But what if I want to get more nuanced? What if I want to talk about the best players for getting triple doubles versus the best players for assists? Which of those is the better topic? Or if I know that I want to talk about triple doubles, do I talk about the one best player for triple doubles? Do I talk about the history of triple doubles? Do I talk about the difficulty of triple doubles? Do I talk about what stats most commonly make up triple doubles? You can go to Google Trends for those kinds of things, but they tend to be a little bit closer and a little bit murkier. And then you'd have to start asking how you want to word those different things. This is where we can go a little bit deeper. And this is where I personally use advice from Daniel Batal, who's super smart, super good at YouTube. You should totally check them out. They did a fantastic video on keyword research, which is generally about search engine optimization. What we're doing here isn't search engine optimization, but by looking at how people word things and what keywords they're using and how often they're searching for them, we can start to get a sense of what people actually want to see. This is where a tool like TubeBuddy's Keyword Explorer comes in handy. When you use the Keyword Explorer, it will give you search volume, which is how many people are searching for it generally, competition, which is how many videos there are that are in that search query, and optimization strength, which is a little bit hazier, but is basically a measurement of how closely the videos in the top search results relate to the actual search term. If search volume and optimization strength are both high, it means that there's a lot of people searching for a term, and there's not that many videos that fit those terms exactly. If we're not using this for search engine optimization, the competition metric doesn't matter to us as much because that's much more about ranking on page 1, which is like a great thing to do and is a great thing to keep in mind, but it's not related to topic choice specifically. I do this with every video to make sure it's actually a topic that people are interested in. So beyond just looking at like what's the more popular thing, keyword research will help us dive down into one category and do further nuanced research about like how exactly to present that topic, or if there's a subcategory we can divide it into. Which, if we're still paying attention to our core audience and what they like, and we think this is something that they would like, should help bolster our viewership just across the board. At the end of the day, even if we can do things to get around it, the popularity of the topic is always going to matter somewhat. The very best Fortnite video in the world is always going to be better than the very best video about folding the ideal paper airplane. And the very best video about folding a paper airplane is going to be more popular than the video that's reviewing different paper types to see which is the best for making paper airplanes. They just have different levels of interest, different sized audiences. That's always going to be true. That said, if we have a strong core audience who knows and understands what we do and we optimize for those weaker topics well, we can still have great success. And as a small side note, if you really want to talk about something that's super obscure and it's not right for a video topic, you can always try and sneak it into a different video with a different topic. Which is my way of saying that everyone should play Phantom Dust. I'm pretty sure it's free on PC. It's totally buck wild. You should check it out. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click on these other great videos about audience development. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to click the like button so that we know you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Little Monster for more videos on audience development every week. See you next time.